Chapter 4: The Market Forces of Supply and Demand. Let us begin with understanding the markets and competition. What defines market is when a group of buyers and sellers come to exchange a particular good or service. A market can be exhibited online and on-site at this time of technology era. Market does not need to be a physical location, just like what we have seen not too long ago, just like grocery store, convenience store, small mart, or others. You can think of Amazon store where you can shop for almost everything from personal accessories, food items, to high-tech stuffs. Here, the market can be just off your fingertip. Again, market can be established as long as the buyers and sellers come together to exchange goods and services. To grasp the market further, we need to understand the type of competitions that play around in different market structures. Let us start with perfectly competitive market or perfect competition. In this market structure, there are multiple buyers and sellers come to exchange goods and services. The selling goods is identical, so the buyers can walk from one seller to another, and the good has to be assumed that it is normal and cannot be exceptional, like either superior or inferior. Here, you can think of that you shop for sweet drinks like Coke or Pepsi. You can walk to Walmart or Target. As long as either one of the stores has what you need, you can make a purchase over there. You do not have a preference over the seller, whether Walmart or Target, that you have to shop there. The buyers and sellers are the price takers, meaning that the good should sell at the same price. Otherwise, the buyers will shop where they can buy at a cheaper price. The sellers find this market free to enter and exit their business. Another competition in the market is monopoly. In this market structure, there is only one seller, but there are multiple buyers. As such, the seller is the price setter. Since monopoly has a strong hold in market power, there must be a strict barrier to enter the market. It is due to government restriction and granting public franchise. Think of the electricity provider in your town. There is only one seller that you can shop for. Monopolistic is another market structure. With this one, there are many firms, but not as much as in a perfect competition. Here, these firms produce differentiated goods and compete on quality, price, and advertising. You can think of market of smartphone. You can see that there are a few manufacturers out there, such as Apple, Samsung, LG, Google Pixel, and others, such that they compete mainly on quality and price. And the last one on the list is oligopoly. With this market structure, there is a small number of firms competing, and typically these firms are duopoly. They operate as interdependents but have temptation to cooperate. You can think of telecommunication providers. These providers can be a few out there, but their service is very similar, such that they provide cellular and internet connection to the community. Now let us take on demand. So you gotta put yourself as a consumer or buyer. Demand is the willingness to buy, and it can tell the relationship between price of a good and its quantity demanded. What is the relationship and directions? It is by the law of demand, such that demand is the inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. That means that if the price goes up, quantity demanded goes down, and the other way around. However, you cannot say that quantity demanded goes up or down will happen to see the price go up or down as such. This is a one-way direction only. One important thing that I would like to remind is that demand and quantity demanded are two separate things. Demand is the willingness to buy, whereas quantity demanded is the consumption level. Demand schedule is a table that comprises of the level of quantity demanded at the given prices, and demand curve is the graph representing this combination. This is an example. You can see the demand schedule lists down the price of ice cream cone and its quantity demanded. At the price of $0, the quantity demanded is 12 cones. At $4, the quantity demanded is 4 cones. And at $6, the quantity demanded is 0 cone. Then if you plot the set of prices in quantity demanded combination on the graph, you will get a demand curve such that you need to list the price on the vertical axis and the quantity demanded on the horizontal axis. You can see that the direction of the price and quantity demanded relationship is a downward linear. When the price is at high level, the quantity demanded is at low level. And if the price keeps decreasing, the quantity demanded is increasing. Here, one thing that I would like you to note is that price is the only determination of a change in quantity demanded. So the change in price can cause the change in quantity demanded. Again, price can change a point on the demand curve with respect to the quantity demanded, but it cannot relocate or shift the demand curve. Remember, quantity demanded and demand are two separate things. Now define what is market demand. Consider that we add in two consumers in the market of ice cream cone, Catherine and Nicholas. Catherine has her own demand such that her quantity demanded reflects at different price points, and same thing for Nicholas. For example, at price of $4, Catherine's and Nicholas's quantity demanded are 4 and 3, respectively. So to find the market demand, we can just simply add the quantity demanded of these consumers together, which is 4 plus 3 equals to 7. Make sure that you don't add up the price, only add the quantity demanded of each consumers to get the market demand. Once you add up the total quantity demanded of all consumers at each price point, we can get a list of quantity demanded of the market demand. And then you can plot the market demand on a graph such that you label the price on the vertical axis and the quantity demanded of the market demand on the horizontal axis. Here we need to discuss factors that shift the demand curve. Earlier, we said that price can set or move a point on the demand curve, but it cannot shift or relocate the demand curve. Now we are discussing the determinations that can move the demand curve rightward or upward and leftward or downward. Those determinations are income, prices of related goods, taste, expectations, and the number of buyers. Now we will discuss one by one. Here we are going to discuss factors that shift the entire demand curve. So these are the determinations that can have an impact on the whole demand function, not just quantity demanded. And please be reminded that only price can have impact on the quantity demanded or points on the demand curve. But the factors that we're going to discuss now are the ones that can have impact on the whole demand curve. Start with income. Suppose that your income increases, your demand is likely to increase, but only on the normal good. However, when an increase of your income, your demand on inferior good can fall down. For example, after graduation, you have a decent job that pays your living expenses good. Your demand on normal goods such as food or personal consumption can be increased. However, since your lifestyle changes, you are likely to consume stuffs that fit your living standard. You lose consuming on low quality stuffs like inferior goods. Prices of related goods, such as substitutes or complements. If the price of a substitute increases, the demand of your preferred good increases. For example, you prefer Coke over Pepsi. So if the price of a Pepsi increases, you are happy with it and you keep demanding buying Coke. Now, if the price of a complement increases, the demand of your preferred good falls down. Why? Let's find a good example of two complementary goods. Consider chip and salsa. If the price of chip goes up, and because salsa is a complementary good, the price of two goods will increase altogether. With this instance, you find it expensive to afford these two goods. Your demand will drop accordingly. Now, how about taste? If your taste increases, your demand will simply increase. Consider since people have better taste or preference over Apple products such as iPhone, iPad, and MacBook, the demanding of owning an Apple product is simply increasing. Next, expectation about the future. Consider if you can foresee that the price of rice is expected to increase because of supply disruption due to another pandemic shutdown. What do you do at the current time? It makes sense that your demand in the current time will increase. And lastly, the number of buyers also matter. If the number of buyers increases, the demand will also increase accordingly. Suppose there are more number of buyers on electric vehicle made by Tesla. We can simply notice that demand for Tesla vehicles is increasing. Therefore, if there is an increase in demand curve will shift rightward or upward. But if there is a decrease in demand curve will shift leftward or downward. You need to understand the terminologies and directions correctly. Now let us take on supply. So you gotta put yourself as a producer or seller. Supply is the willingness to sell, and it can tell the relationship between price of a good and its quantity supplied. What is the relationship and direction? It is by the law of supply, so it is a positive relationship between price and quantity supplied. That means that if price goes up, quantity supplied also goes up, and the other way around. However, like we said for demand, you cannot say that quantity supplied goes up or down will happen to see the price to go up or down too. That is not correct because it is a one-way direction only. One important thing that I would like to remind, and it is the same as I said with demand, is that supply and quantity supplied are two separate things. Supply is the willingness to sell, whereas quantity supplied is the production level. Supply schedule is a table that comprises of the level of quantity supplied at a given price, and supply curve is the graph representing this combination. Take this example. You can see the supply schedule that lists down the price of ice cream cone and its quantity supplied at the price of $2. The quantity supplied is one cone, and at $6, the quantity supplied is zero cone. If you plot the set of price and quantity supplied combinations on a graph, you will get a supply curve such that you need to list the price on the vertical axis and the quantity supplied on the horizontal axis. Then you can see the direction of the price and quantity supplied relationship is an upward linear. When the price is at high level, the quantity supplied is also at a high level. And if the price keeps decreasing, the quantity supplied is also decreasing. Here, one thing that I would like to remind, as I said with demand, is that price is the only determination of a change in quantity supplied. So the change in price can cause the change in quantity supplied. Again, price can change a point on the supply curve with respect to the quantity supplied, but it cannot relocate or shift the supply curve. Remember, quantity supplied and supply are two separate things. Now define what is market supply. Consider that we add in two suppliers in the market of ice cream cone, Ben and Thierry. Ben has his own supply such that his quantity supplied reflects at different price points, and same thing for Thierry. For example, at price of $4, Ben's and Thierry's quantity supplied are 3 and 4 respectively. So to find the market supply, we can just simply add the quantity supplied of these suppliers together, which is 3 plus 4 equals to 7. Make sure that you don't add up the price, only add the quantity supplied of each suppliers to get the market supply. Once you add the total quantity supplied of all suppliers at each price point, you can get a list of quantity supplied of the market supply. And then you can plot the market supply on a graph such that you label the price on the vertical axis and the quantity supplied of the market supply on the horizontal axis. Now let us discuss factors that shift the entire supply curve. So these are the determinations that can have an impact on the whole supply function, not just quantity supplied. And please be reminded that only price can have impact on the quantity supplied or points on the supply curve. But the factors that we're going to discuss now are the ones that can have impact on the entire supply curve. Start with input prices. Here, I would like you to think that for suppliers, there are two prices that matter to them, the input price and the selling price. The input price is the cost to operate the business, or the cost of factors of production, such as land, labor, and capital. The selling price is the price that the supplier charges the market to sell their products. So if the input prices drop, it endures less cost for the suppliers, then they are happy to increase their supply to the market. Next is technology. We hear a lot and know that technology plays a big role in production line. So here with a technology innovation or an upgrade in technological knowledge at the firm level, there will be a large increase in supply. Then expectations about the future. Consider if the firms can foresee that there will be a high demand on their products and they can call at a higher price in the near future. What do firms do at the current time? It makes sense that if they wait to sell their products in the future, they can come up with large revenue. So at the current time, firms should reduce supply because they need to save or store their products to sell at a higher price in the near future. And lastly, the number of sellers also matter. If the number of sellers increases, the supply will also increase accordingly. Suppose there are more number of sellers in the market of home assistant device such as HomePod made by Apple, Google Home Assistant, Alexa device made by Amazon. We can simply see that there are varieties of these devices selling in the market. Therefore, if there is an increase in supply, supply curve will shift rightward or downward. But if there is a decrease in supply curve will shift leftward or upward. Here you need to understand the terminologies and directions correctly. Now it is time to put demand and supply together. When demand and supply come to a point such that they cross together, that creates an equilibrium point. At the equilibrium, we can obtain the equilibrium price and quantity. And the equilibrium quantity must be that the quantity demanded equals to quantity supplied. Here I would like to call it when the market exists, or full moon, when everyone in the market, the buyers and the sellers are happy to agree and conduct a market transaction that goods and services can be executed. However, every day is not always a full moon. Market simply runs into disequilibrium such that surplus and shortage always exist. Consider the graph on panel A. At the price of $5, you can see the quantity demanded is 4 cones and quantity supplied is 10 cones. In such case, the quantity demanded is less than the quantity supplied, so it creates a surplus of 6 cones in this market. At this point, I would like to convey that there is a price mechanism that the price has to fall down. The question is, how can we do to eliminate this excess surplus? A good quick advice is that the seller should put the price tag of these ice cream cones as discounted price. Another one, let us look at the graph in panel B. At the price of $3, you can see the quantity demanded is 10 cones and quantity supplied is 4 cones. In such case, the quantity demanded is more than the quantity supplied, so it creates a shortage of 6 cones in this market. At this point, there is a price mechanism that the price has to rise up to abolish the disequilibrium. The question, how can we do to eliminate this shortage? A quick advice is that the seller should raise the price that it can discourage the buyers to demand the ice cream cones at a low price tag. Here, let us consider shifting in both supply and demand curves. First, consider the graph on panel A. Without any changes in this market economy, the original equilibrium is when D1 curve crosses S1 curve at point A, such that it creates the equilibrium price at P1 and the equilibrium quantity at Q1. Suppose that the change of demand is greater than that of supply, then if there is a positive or upward shift in demand, the demand curve D1 shifts rightward to D2. The equilibrium changes from point A to point B, and it creates a temporary stop at P3 and Q3 when Q3 is greater than Q1 and P3 is greater than P1. Here I would like you to look at Q3, which is the quantity demanded, and Q1 is the quantity supplied. In such case, quantity demanded is greater than quantity supplied, then it creates a shortage, so the price has to increase. As price increases, the supply curve will also increase because suppliers are happy to supply more when they see that they can sell at a higher price. So the supply curve shifts from S1 to S2, and it creates a new equilibrium at D2 and S2 intersections. The new equilibrium changes from point B to point C. Here we can see that the price increases from P3 to P2, but the quantity decreases back from Q3 to Q2. And this is due to the change of demand is greater than the change of supply. Next, consider the graph on panel B. Again, without any changes in this market economy, the original equilibrium is when D1 curve crosses S1 curve at point A, such that it creates the equilibrium price at P1 and the equilibrium quantity at Q1. Suppose that the change of demand is less than the change of supply, and if there is a positive or upward shift in demand, the demand curve D1 shifts rightward to D2. The equilibrium changes from point D to point E, and it creates a temporary stop at P3 and Q3, where Q3 is greater than Q1 and P3 is greater than P1. So here you need to consider that Q3 is the quantity demanded and Q1 is the quantity supplied. In such case, quantity demanded is greater than quantity supplied. Then it creates a shortage again, and the price has to go up. As price increases, the supply curve will also increase. So the supply curve shifts from S1 to S2, and it creates a new equilibrium at D2 and S2 intersections. The new equilibrium changes from point E to point F, Here we can see that the price increases from P3 to P2, but the quantity decreases back from Q3 to Q2, which is further than Q1. And this is due to the change of demand is less than the change of supply. Now let us do the quiz. Question number 1. In a perfectly competitive market, what? As we have discussed about perfectly competitive market or perfect competition, the buyers and the sellers are the price taker, meaning that they have to accept or take the price as the market sets. No one has control over price, so the answer is B. A reseller takes the price of its product as set by market conditions. Question number 2. A change in which of the following will not shift the demand curve for hamburgers? Remember that price can only matter to the quantity demanded or any points on the demand curve, but it cannot relocate the entire demand curve. So in this case, the price of hamburgers itself is not a factor that shifts the demand curve. Then the answer is B. Question number 3. Which of the following will shift the demand curve for pizza to the right? Here we need to find a factor that can have a positive impact that shifts the demand curve for pizza rightward. A. An increase in the price of hamburgers is substitute for pizza. This one makes sense and it can be the right choice, but let us discover more choices. B. An increase in the price of root beer, a complement to pizza. An increase in price of a complement is analogous to an increase in price of a preferred good, so it is the inverse relationship to the quantity demanded. Then it is not a correct choice. C. The departure of college students as they leave for summer vacation. This sounds like a reduction in the number of buyers if we think the demand for pizza in the school campus. So with less number of buyers, the demand curve should shift leftward. Then it is not a correct choice either. D. A decrease in the price of pizza. This is the price factor, so it cannot shift the entire demand curve. Then it is not a correct choice. After all, the correct answer is A. An increase in the price of hamburgers is substitute for pizzas. Question number 4. Which of the following shifts the supply curve for pizza to the right? Here we need to find a factor that pushes the supply curve rightward. I can choose answer C here because a decrease in the price of cheese and input to pizza, and it means that it is a reduction in the input prices. So it is the reason that can relocate the supply curve rightward. Question number 5. Movie tickets and film streaming services are substitutes. If the price of film streaming increases, what happens in the market for movie tickets? As discussed, for substituted goods, when the price of the item increases, it is a good reason to increase demand for our preferred item. So in this case, since we know that movie tickets and film streaming services are substitutes, and if the price of film streaming increases, it will bring a positive impact on the market for movie tickets. So the answer is D, the demand curve shifts to the right. Question number 6. The discovery of a large new reserve of crude oil will shift what curve for gasoline, leading to what equilibrium price? This question is about the oil production, so I would refer to discussing supply. When it says that the discovery of a large new reserve of crude oil, it should be that the supply curve shifting rightward. Imagine about the market equilibrium as I drew it down. You can see that with increase in supply shifting to the right, the new equilibrium will bring up a larger quantity but a lower price. So the answer is B.